should have.
I was Cat Wood. I'm like, oh, she doesn't want to pass, but he didn't let it.
Kind of want to.
I want you to.
This is great.
Isn't that beautiful?
Yeah, beautiful. Good. And I've had people tell me already how happy they were to get it.
Oh, good, good.
But
They like
the
it.
inspector was there today and finished. The windows were replaced, and so they
Meryl said Brad's
should
bringing
underwriting was supposed to come back. So maybe by Friday or Monday they can close.
Oh, that's awesome.
Seen it yet, but you need to
Brad's
see it
gonna
before
be
you.
there.
So Larkus, things getting easier.
Okay.
Now we've settled.
All right.
We almost.
Well, you know,
Oh, come on.
Bob, are not very good, especially Rick, about telling us.
Poor last time.
Hopefully we'll get it done.
I can dig through my bag again and see what Okay, are we ready? Jim, are we ready? Okay, Diane, you ready? Okay, sorry for the tardy start. We welcome everybody here to the board tonight. We do have all of the board members here, as well as our superintendent and business administrator, and we appreciate our district staff that's here as well as the newspaper and our representatives from the public. So thank you for coming. We're going to start out tonight. We have the, I'm sorry, what? Oh, we have the Civil Air Patrol cadets from Wendover here, and they're going to let us give our flag ceremony.
Left face. Present. Bolt. Arms.
Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Order. Arms. Post. Left face. Color guard. Forward. March.
Thank you very much. You may be seated.
Thank you very much, and thank you to their advisor. Mr. Rowley is here with us tonight too, so thank you. Thanks for coming out. And I think you have a report for us, an update on the Wendover Gear Up.
I do. Before I tell you that, I'd like to tell you that this is the second public appearance of these 12-year-olds from our school.
They did a great job.
And they are, under the direction of Lieutenant De Jesus, will be performing at Lavelle Edwards Stadium for the Stadium of Fire on July 1st. So this audience of 50 will be great, but they'll have 45,000 there. I'd like to give you a brief account of Gear Up for the last quarter and a little projection of the upcoming year. Last month we had 4 students who participated with Senator Hatch at the downlink at Utah State University. All 4 of our students, 3 were Gear Up, 1 was not. All 4 of the students were interviewed for the program, and one of them was interviewed by Channel 4 and appeared on television that night. We have 7 students going at the end of this month to transition camp at Utah State, and we have 6 students going to an app camp for coding of computers in July, and they're going to come back. One of the things they're going to do is they're going to have a sweatshirt, and they're going to be able to make it talk. And I don't know what it's going to say, but I think that's incredible. We have one student, Amanda Murphy, who has been selected to go with one of 200 students from around the United States, and she'll be going to the Youth Leadership Summit in San Francisco in mid-July. Wendover High School was the only school in the state that got to go 2 years in a row, so we had students that went last year as well, and we're proud of that. We have another female student who'll be going to Camp Williams for the Freedom Academy late in July. We believe that our senior Gear Up class this year will have the highest percentage of college-bound students in recent Wendover history. We have provided 9 of those students with the ability to try for a fee waiver for their retake of their ACT test. 2 of them will not qualify because of their family income, but 7 of them should and will be able to retake the ACT twice, and we certainly encourage that. The 2 who will not get the free waiver will have to pay the $50, but we've encouraged them to also retake, including one of the students who has the highest ACT score in, I think, the history of Wendover.
Wow.
So that's really great for us. We've arranged for a FAFSA expert to come first of the year to teach our parents and students, and not just our Gear Up students, but all of our students, well, probably the 11th and 12th grade, how to do a FAFSA, because it's complicated. We have an ACT prep coming up, and we also have individualized scholarship application procedure help for all of our students. And because of that, and the fact that we have these, we think, really brilliant students this year, next year when you come out to Wendover for our graduation, we hope to have a whole lot of them that you can wish well as they go on to college. Thanks so much.
Congratulations and thank you.
Thank you.
Can we clap for him? Drive safe on your way back. I guess I should have had a little more, you drive safely. Thanks for coming. I should have had a little more fanfare. We've had a little restructuring at the district office, so welcome to people in new positions, and thanks for coming tonight. Are there any patron comments? No? Well, there's always something to comment about. Okay. Next on the agenda is the consent agenda. It includes the minutes, expenditure, revenue and disbursement report, personnel decisions, 150-mile contest, surplus, and agreements for the superintendent, business administrator, policy, and a policy on student bus transportation. Is there a motion or questions in regards to the consent agenda?
I move that we approve the consent calendar.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
It's moved by Karen, seconded by Kathy to approve the consent calendar. Any discussion to that motion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Okay, 5.1, proposed final fiscal year 17 budget and proposed fiscal year 18 beginning budget. Mr. Reynolds.
All right, I hope you had a chance to view version 1 that I wanted to make sure we had available for public review by the 1st, which we did. Since this time, a few things have changed, but at least want to bring up to speed on a beginning and proposed budget. Now, the page that Jim happens to have up in front is an overall, as you recall, from our new template last year. Shows all funds, and it has the revenues and expenditures that we're projecting for the end of, so I'm looking at the third column over our proposed final budget for 17. That's just taking our current working budget and presenting it to you for final adoption. We would do need to make some tweaks to this for version 2 in regards to the foundation fund and the amount of revenue and expenditures we report in there. So I'm hoping to have a version 2 that we can present at our next public hearing for hopefully final adoption on 17. The fourth column, as you see, is our proposed budget for next year, and those are kind of the two I wanted you to focus on as far as we walk along now. It's great to refer to the first column, which was our actual audited numbers from 2016, our fiscal year end, as well as the original budget we adopted in June of last year. And since we haven't made any changes to it, that's why we have the differences between our second and third column there. But maybe I should just ask, did you happen to have any questions as you looked through it to speed it up?
No.
If
Anybody?
not, if you want, I'll just hit on a few highlights that I felt like. So you can see that this year we actually are going to, well, before I actually move down into that, the third column there, I just want to stress for next year, a lot of people begin to look at next year's budget. Actually showing, as you can see on there, going down to the line, if you can scroll down just a little bit, Jim, for those who are looking up at the screen, we have a line called revenues less expenditures, and a deficit. If it's in the parentheses, it's a deficit, as you can see. Keep going down. It's right there. That takes our revenues above minus our expenditures. I want to point that out because they look negative, but that's okay because of our capital projects and our bond money. I do fully expect when you look at the third column there for fiscal year 17 that the revenues will be good, but I fully expect that there will be fallout in the expenditures. Just want to stress that. But when you look at the 18 year, that's due to our large projects on the bonds, and I wanted to point those out. But the one that most people want to look at happens to be page 2 of the PDF. So if you continue to scroll down, I know it's whatever color that is, maybe a pink along the top, for our budget, our general fund budget, which is where the majority of our activity is. Just a few highlights in there. You can see that we had projected to have 92 million of revenue in our adopted budget, and it's up to 96. And your question may be, how did we increase so much? One of the biggest factors I wanted to point out, other than the fact that, as we talked about earlier this year, we had more growth than we were projecting, and so that's of course good for us as far as growing on that. But we were also told that we needed to move. This is just a direction I received from the state to move the trust lands money, which we have been accounting for in our Fund 21, our student activity funds. They would like to see that in the general fund, student activity funds. The comment I received from Von Horton at the state was, we're one of the few districts who do that, and therefore he felt like it skewed our numbers when they looked at statewide data. And given that fact, that's why you also do see a large increase in the fiscal year 17, is because we're projecting to move all those trust lands expenditures from Fund 21 to Fund 10. Kind of our big change for this next year. Then, of course, in the proposed fiscal year 18, we also fully project that that increase in there does include trust lands being in there, but also the WPU increase this year and everything else that we've mentioned there. You can see there's a larger portion of our state-sourced revenue, and the majority of that comes from the WPU increase this past year, which is great. I also budgeted, and this is what I wanted to stress and point out, I'd budgeted an increase in our property tax. That's just given our past history that we have continued to increase in the assessed valuation throughout the county, and given that I had believed or projected that we'd continue to grow. I believe that's how we've been doing well the last few years, is because of our tax strategy of the flat tax rate, is what we'll call it, that has generated new assessed growth every year, and therefore we've continued to grow. And so in this particular budget, I had estimated, I believe, a 4% increase in that. Since then, I have found out that that's not accurate. So I just wanted to stress that, point that out as one of the highlights in this budget. It does include the negotiations that you'll see a little bit later and have been voted on. And since it happens to be the majority of our activity, I thought I'd focus on the general fund. I did mention we need to make some changes to the education fund, and that's been through some conversations I've had with Mr. Dalton, and so we'll bring those back and talk to you about them in version 2, if that's okay. But just to show you, because and you can go down through the various funds, the student activity funds. Unless anybody has any questions, I'll actually just go ahead and skip ahead. I wanted to point out in our major funds, debt service, we just make sure that we have enough in there to cover our debt service. Matter of fact, that's one you don't want to have a large fund balance in, and so in that one, I'm just trying to actually reduce our fund balance in this case. That's why if you actually look at that revenues less expenditures line, it's negative, but that's because there is some fund balance in our general obligation debt. We don't want that to grow larger than we have obligation to do. But capital projects is where the majority of the bonds and projects we have for this next year, our next major fund, and just wanted to point out that we've included all the proposed changes that were presented in the past few meetings that you've had as you read through our capital outlay plans that Mr. West provided. That's all included in there, plus some additional amounts for the finishing of the projects of our 2 elementaries, and continuing on the other small projects that we have in our bonds. As you may recall, we do plan on selling those bonds the end of this month if everything goes well. So we will, and the other financing sources, you'll see $16 million there. That's the projected revenue from the sale of those bonds. So the main thing I wanted to show, and if it's all right, I think it's easier maybe if I switch over, if that's all right, Jim. Hopefully you can see my screen. But I wanted to show you why I can't fully project what the state taxes are going to be. And I just didn't think there was any better way of showing you than to put this up on the screen. So I apologize if it's a little small. I'll try and make it larger if needs be, if I can. Maybe this website. Might not like enlarging. But long story short, this is where we go to set our certified tax rates with the state. And I am apologizing because it's not allowing me to enlarge it right now. But if you can see this column 6 here, maximum by law, and if you come over to the certified tax rate that the county has, you can see the green highlighted area up front that the rates have been set by the auditor. This is the earliest I've seen them this year. The problem is we don't have the basic school levy. It hasn't been set, which is what we're waiting on to finalize our rates, long story short. And so that one isn't out there yet. But I want what caught me off guard, and I fully said that I built in some assessed valuation growth. As soon as I pulled this up and saw that our tax rate was higher than it was last year, I knew that was bad news, because we've been through this before. When values drop, your rate goes up. The rate was higher. So I instantly, and the best screen to show you that is, I'm sorry, I've been out too long. is to show you the detail that they have to go behind it. And, oh, this one will actually let me make it larger. So long story short, you can see there's 16 year-end values and the 17 original. The 17 original has the highlighted purple in bottom. And so real property value throughout the county did increase. Like I was projecting it fully. As a matter of fact, if you go over there, it increased about 7.84% if you look at the bottom line, the adjustment. The problem, however, was centrally assessed values and personal property values, and you can see how much they declined this past year. Given that fact, going back to the logic I said of a flat tax rate, overall the assessed valuations declined. Less new growth. I want to stress that because there's to the right they have a new growth formula that's in there. And anyway, long story short, our rates will naturally rise this next year, to sum it all up in a nutshell. So it will be above the 0.9593 rate if we go with the auditor certified tax rate. So I want to point that. Now, going back to the budget, I had built in growth, and now need to take that growth out. So just wanted to point, that's what I'll be working on for our version 2. I hope we get the numbers by the end of this week so I can have a good one for you for Tuesday for our budget hearing. But I saw a question.
What is centrally assessed value?
Centrally assessed, good question. It's been explained to me as this is values that the county assessor does not actually go out and assess, like they do the real property throughout the county. And so this one's, when they say centrally assessed, only the state tax commission can do that, and it's usually described as railroads. I'm trying to think of big ones. Anything that covers multiple counties, so sometimes large mining industries, things like that, large businesses that cross into different counties, then the state tax commission actually assesses those values.
And personal property values?
And that one is tricky because as it's been explained to me, that will increase and decrease in years. So that's all the business assets that they charge taxes on. The reason why is they will depreciate over time. And so an example is sometimes you'll get a windfall. Maybe that's what happened in our prior years. We got companies that bought a lot of assets, and as they depreciate over time, that can fall. And it looks like this past year they have declined quite a bit. I can tell you because as we were talking to the rating agencies, they specifically asked about any companies, and I do know it made the paper. We had correct me if I say this wrong, Superintendent, was ATI that closed this past year. I actually called the county assessors and was going through the finite details, asking could they explain this to me, and they went into, well, no, we saw growth, and they would go up to the top part, and I had to point out, yeah, but once you add in the centrally assessed and personal property, you see the decrease. He did mention that there was a lot fallout from a few large businesses such as ATI that pulled out and moved some of those assets that they had while they were in production, and that could be part of it, but he wouldn't go into more detail than that, just saying there was a large decrease. So does that help answer that? Any other questions on those property taxes? So
Can I make a clarification?
Mhm.
So just for those of you that are here, so when you look at Tooele County compared to other counties, we're very market value, property tax poor and effort high, and that creates a real challenge for us when you look at salary wars and other things like going on as far as how we can be competitive. And we're hoping that equalization will address this a little bit. Interesting to note that there are only 6 states left that still continue to fund education with at least this large of a portion of property tax. The other districts, the other states have actually said, hey, there's such a disparity in equalization, we need to do something as far as not having districts that have roughly, I mean, here, our highest district have 14,000 per year per student, and we are at 68, something like that, 100. So that's the heartburn we have when people compare us to Wasatch Front on salaries. Now, we did everything we could for retention and recruitment purposes, but it's not a level playing field with regard to property values and property taxes. So people have to take that into consideration.
Lark, I am curious about growth, because you talked about growth, but I guess it just surprises me because we're still growing so fast. So is that, I mean, when we talk about new homes and
That's real property.
That's
That is
real
real.
property.
It is. Matter of
that
fact,
grew.
of that real property increase, what I didn't show, because I had it small there. If you go to the right where it has the real property growth, they showed, as you can see, $218 million roughly of growth throughout the county. Of that, and I don't know if you can see my cursor there. Maybe if I highlight it, it'll stand out a little more. Of that, they said 156 was attributed to as the assessors go out and increase property values throughout the county on existing properties. So they net the difference down here, what they call real new growth. That is the new homes and everything that you've seen going up, that 61 million listed. And the reason I say the assessed valuation, if I scroll here to the right, long story short, I look for these two numbers, the one highlighted in yellow and the one highlighted in green. Now this year is unique because the one highlighted in green, they back out the new growth. And the one in green is what the auditor sets the rates at. That's why this number, the 3.5 million there, is lower than last year, which is why our rates are going up. However, the number in yellow up there, that's why it's a kind of a unique year. The number in yellow there, the proposed tax rate is what we set the value at. That includes the new growth. And by the time you look at that yellow one from the prior year, there's actually a little bit of growth in there. And it's all attributable to the new growth throughout the county. But like I said, it's a small amount, not very large. Does that help answer at least what we're projecting at this point for property taxes and hopefully the changes we'll need to make for version 2? Just wanted to give you that high level update of what we have in the budget. So.
I prefer when you only give us good news.
Okay.
Thanks.
Wish I could today.
Well, thanks anyway. We'll look forward to seeing version 2. Any other questions from anybody? Okay, thanks. 6.1, Tooele Education Association 2017 and 18 negotiated agreement. Do you want to say anything or?
Yes, ma'am. I heard what you said to Lark, and I'm only going to give you good news.
That would be fantastic.
So everybody has been aware of what I refer to as salary wars and what's been happening across the Wasatch Front. It's not happening in every region, but it certainly is impacting our ability to recruit and retain teachers. And so we worked really hard, and a shout out to the leadership and the board and membership of Tooele Education Association. We weren't able to match the $40,000 starting salary that you saw happening in Jordan and Canyons, and then it was one-upped by Granite and one-upped by Salt Lake, and then one-upped by Murray, and then one-upped by Park City.
I think it's more like 5-up.
Or
by
5
Park
up.
City, yeah.
So, that's what's happening, but we really feel pretty good about this package. We wish we could have started at $40,000. We wish we could have given all of our employees, every employee group, the same amount or the equivalent amount. We have some real challenges with regard to the amount of insurance that we're paying and our premium, our usage and utilization. And so, but we worked really hard with both groups. A shout out to Bob Gowans, who's the president, and Rick Harrison as the negotiations chair, and that negotiations team. We had a team as well, and appreciate Kathy Taylor serving as a board representative on that team. And we recommend that the TEA ratified that agreement. I guess I want to make a clarification because Tim's sitting right here, but the cost to that raise was 8.5% to our total certified salary schedule expenditures. But that doesn't mean every single cell received 8.5%, because our salary schedule is all over the place on the difference between cells. But what we tried to do was give everyone, what we did was the flat rate. So this includes a flat rate of $38.58 going to every certified employee, and then there is an insurance increase, and I can explain when we talk about the other groups, how it was done different. We do not negotiate all together. We do that separately, so there are some differences that the membership of different groups would like to see happen. But we felt really good about, that's the good news, is that we're, hopefully, if you approve it, we're stepping to the plate and offering more. We had to get above 33,142 if we're going to retain our teachers, because other districts are paying 42,000. And so we're hoping that that will help us with recruitment and retention, and we're hoping to do more. We need to talk about taxing strategy, our students now, equalization, other things that will come into play with regard to what we can do in future years. But we would like to continue to increase compensation for our employees, all groups. This year it was especially important to get out there and retain and recruit teachers. So we would recommend that you approve the agreement.
Okay.
I move that we approve the 2017-2018 negotiation agreement with the Tooele Education Association.
Is there a
I'll
second?
second it.
It's been moved by Carol and seconded by Kathy that we approve the 2017-18 negotiated agreement with the Tooele Education Association. Is there discussion to that motion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
Uh,
Motion carries. Oh,
I'm just going to say I'm going to abstain, as
Okay.
is my practice. So, thanks.
Understood, thank you. So 6 in favor and 1 abstain. Thank you. And next is the Tooele Employee Support Professionals Association 2017-18 negotiated agreement.
Well, in this case, we have Kim Jorgensen. She's the president of TESPA. She's here looking around, trying to
Woohoo!
take the attention off of her. And her team, she has some of her negotiation members here as well. And just a shout out to them for being good advocates for our employees, being very professional. We took a little bit different approach with that group, as is their right to, and the big concern right there was with increasing insurance rates. And so we covered those insurance rates where those rates were passed on to certified staff. We covered the increases there, and then we were able to give back or restore 3 furlough days, and that was an important to the membership. That was an important piece of that, which was, I think, roughly, as Lark calculated, at about 0.77877%, something like that.
Furlough days.
The 3
Yeah.
days, the furlough days.
Yes, point.
And then there was a 2% recommendation on the salary schedule as far as a COLA. And of course, we have it also included in there some of the other things that we discussed and talked about. So we're all concerned about rising insurance costs, and we're doing everything we can with the HSA and the plan design and utilization and wellness to try to curb that. But we intend to do more for that group as well as for administrators. We don't negotiate with administrators, but the same 2% roughly was also built into the budget by Lark for increases for administrators. So hopefully, if we get some new funding through equalization and through either our Students Now initiative or voted leeway, we'll be able to do even more with classified staff and with administrative staff. We have great staff overall, but the real problem this year was teacher recruitment and retention. So we would recommend, Kim, do you want to say anything at all? Kim's, just to let you
Don't
know,
wanna
our
come up?
TESPA Employee of the Year as well. She was nominated by the group and her group of peers, and so she was selected by that group. So we do appreciate her. She makes a mean cookie, a very good, in a good way. Very. She keeps all of us at CMT in eating good, so we appreciate that. But we appreciate that team, and we would recommend that the board would approve that ratified agreement.
It's really fun to come up and talk in the microphone and spin the thing. No. Okay. All right.
I'll make a motion to accept the agreement with the TESPA.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved by Kathy and seconded by Ellen to approve the 2017-18 negotiated agreement with the Tooele Employees Support Professionals Association. Is there discussion to that motion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, motion carries. We're happy that we are able to give a raise. It's important to the board to keep our teachers and our staff here, and we appreciate all the staff that we have. 6.3, board goals and strategic plan. You're still up.
Okay.
It looks good. I have
Madam
to say,
President and
what we
members
gave
of the
you-
board,
Yeah.
we did a work session in May, and was it May or April? I can't.
Yes,
I'm looking at the
it
clock.
was.
May.
May or April.
Work session. So early in May, we did a work session, and you looked at our current strategic plan goals, and then gave some suggestions, and we've made those tweaks under strategies. But the basic 5 goals, which are excellence in student achievement, excellence in school climate, excellence in communications, and also in business operations and in human resources. We made some tweaks under the strategies, but you as a group came up with the same 5 goals, and this is a strong strategic plan and direction for a year. There are districts that do strategic plans and go 5 years and 10 years out. I've appreciated its extra work, but that you do some kind of a work session and you make tweaks on those. We've seen some good progress on some goals, and especially with regard to not only school climate and student achievement, but communications this year. We really made some great strides on our social media, our website, new website that's launched, and some of our YouTube channel features. And we have lots and lots more Facebook and Twitter followers. Thank you, Marie. And so we left that open for you for several weeks to make some comments and some tweaks, and some of you did provide some language wordsmithing, and so we would recommend approving this with any changes that if there are any last minute changes you'd like to see, we would take that feedback and try to incorporate that into these board goals.
Anyone?
Madam Chair, I move that we approve the 2017-2018 strategic plan.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
It's been moved by Karen and seconded by Julie to approve the 2017-18 strategic plan. Any discussion to that motion? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries.
Madam President,
Yes.
I just will also highlight, we did appreciate, there's a little more emphasis on technology in the classroom, looking at My Tech High and some of the things we're doing with online education that are going to be pretty creative, and continued focus on bullying and suicide prevention efforts, and our Safe Schools and Social Services Department that Mary Ann is going to head up. We think those are real important aspects. So we thank you for tweaking and calibrating that a little bit to keep us focused, and we'll do our best to achieve all these.
I'm always impressed when I see, when I think about what we gave you, and then it looks so good.
That's Madam President, that's probably Diane Valdez, so I can't take that.
Thank you. Okay, revised policy 5032, wellness and nutrition, second read. Jennifer and Steve.
Hi, Jen.
Welcome back.
Fruit and vegetables.
I know. So I'm here to discuss the board recommendations for the second read of the wellness policy 5032. It was recommended that we added what reimbursable meal was, and we added to paragraph F3 that the reimbursable meal is items that cannot be sold from midnight to 30 minutes after school ends. So we added that, and I also took out some of the bullet points as far as the common items that are smart snacks, because I would like the reader to go to the website provided so that they can see exactly what a smart snack entails, because there's so many different variances. So the reader of this policy, I would like and recommend them to go to the website reference
So
there.
when I talked about Kim's cookies, can they be classified as a smart snack?
They're good because they're free. It's
They're
only things that are sold.
pretty smart. Okay.
As long as they're free, they're okay. And then you guys also inquired about the smart snack regulations if we don't comply. And I found out from our state representative that there would be no immediate loss of funding. But if we're given technical assistance on our audits, which we've already been given technical assistance on the smart snacks twice in a row. And so if we're given technical assistance again, we could lose our entire school lunch program. So that would be no free USDA food, that would be no money from the state, and then it would be also cause implications for the state. They wouldn't get any federal funding for our district. So
Feels like coercion.
so anyway,
It's exactly like that. It's not just like that.
Those are the
Jennifer,
changes.
when you boil it down to, I mean, we obviously need to change some of our practices during school with what is sold by groups and or individual staff members, or, I mean.
I plan on, I'm hoping to be on the agenda for leadership training in August to discuss with the principals what smart snacks are, supported. And then also, the state also allows you to have 3 exemptions per year for each school. So there are some times when you can have, if it's approved, that you can have an exemption, but it's 3 times per year per
So
school.
if you have a homecoming week and we're doing homecoming brownies that are being sold to pay for such and such, that's an exemption. But do we comply with pop machines and things like that? Are they shut down?
Most of them do. A lot of the vendors know that snack is what smart. So if you just get with the vendors, the principals get with the vendors that that provide things, then they will be able to stock.
But vendors relating,
The
it's
schools,
our schools. I mean, I'm not pointing the finger. I'm just.
One of my ideas,
we-
we won't, we 3 more years, but one of my is to maybe go to the school anyway with the kitchen staff. So I'd like to go in there, some chink. So
Well, years, because like
Exactly.
we said, the order changed. So
so we just recommend that.
you want us to approve this?
Madam, to ask a couple.
Feel free, please.
Can you just of Max?
Okay, so can't condemn a certain. There have a certain amount of and I don't know exact definitions. It has to have whole grain carbonation. The lifesavers in the they sell in the to be either the reduced the gross things. These that are sold in the machine grain. There's a lot of things that the kids would rather not eat. I know that they sell Pop-Tarts, so.
I will get into, well.
My other
School stores. There was a store that wanted to sell bake sales at some of the schools to raise funds, and that's not allowed unless there's an exemption that's approved by the state.
during lunch or at any time?
Anytime from midnight to 30 minutes after school.
But they can bake as far as part of their programming. It's just the selling part that is. So we would have to find alternate ways to fund that rather than doing that as a fundraiser, because we're competing with national school year.
Right, but we could get the exemption for 3 times a year, which is not a
Which
lot.
is nice.
I think they do it once a week.
Yeah.
So.
That's all my questions.
Any other questions? Anybody want to?
I'll make a motion that we accept the policy on, what's this policy called?
Wellness and nutrition.
5032, wellness and nutrition.
Okay, I can't get to the top of mine, but I can tell you.
Wellness and nutrition. Is that
And do we have to
Wellness and
say this
nutrition.
line about will participate in the nutrition? And is someone
We can do that
going to be a
after.
member of the
We'll do
committee?
that after. We can do that after.
Okay.
Policy.
I'll second the motion.
So moved by Kathy, seconded by Karen to approve policy 5032, wellness and nutrition. Any discussion to that motion?
Your taste buds can object, right? But you can still vote.
All in favor?
Aye.
And I vote no. So 6 ayes and 1 nay. Oh, Karen, yeah. Not because I'm opposed to you, because
Right.
I'm opposed to this policy.
I agree. I agree.
But thank you. And
Okay,
then they
thank
need
you.
a board member who will be on the Nutrition and Wellness Advisory Committee. I think I was on it before.
I'll be on it.
I never went to a meeting. I don't know
I'll
if
go
they
out
had a
there and look at
meeting.
the lunch
but I think I
room.
was on
They
it.
did either.
They
Or
did.
whatever Jennifer wants me to do.
Okay, I will make sure you get the invite when we have our
Okay.
triennial assessment meetings.
Make sure you
Okay.
give her plenty of
I owe
smart
Jennifer,
snacks.
she was
Yeah,
so
can you
good.
make-
She wants popcorn with no butter and no salt.
Exactly.
Sugar-free lifesavers.
And 100% juice drink.
Okay, well, I have to help her and support her because she was good for me for a lot of years.
Okay, thank you, Jennifer.
Can
Thank
we
you.
just give a quick shout out to food service? For
Absolutely, you can.
What they just did, and Jennifer explained the details, to get Northlake to qualify so
Oh, I saw that in the
every
newspaper.
student will eat lunch at Northlake free.
Oh, I saw
Yeah,
that.
Yeah,
it
that
was
was
awesome.
neat. Yeah.
It's all over Facebook.
Thank you. Thanks. Appreciate that.
Yeah, great, thank you. Okay, revised policy 5040, multimedia content. Mr. Strain.
So after last meeting, we had a few pieces that we wanted to kind of add some clarification to. One of those was, what was a multimedia clip. Also, we wanted to take the movie or video out because that let's see, 4D, because that implied that they could show a whole movie or video. So what we've done is I looked around to see what other districts were using as definitions for a multimedia clip. Really, I could not find any other district in Utah that had any kind of a policy like this. When you look outside of the state of Utah, nobody really defined a multimedia clip. So I put no, not to exceed 10 minutes and thought that would be a good starting place for us to discuss. I don't know where that happy spot would be when it comes to a multimedia clip. For some purposes, it may be that 10-minute mark. For others, it could be 10 seconds. So.
I don't know, 10 minutes sounds good to me, but I don't know. We can always change it.
So just I guess a point of clarification, are we suggesting that the educator can only show what we've defined here as a multimedia clip? Or is this it looks like it's an alternative movie / multimedia clip?
Yeah, so that piece there is, if it's not listed in the curriculum mapping with, excuse me, let me make sure I'm getting the
You
language
want to,
right.
if you want to go outside our
If you want to go
approved
outside what's approved.
list, then
Yes.
here's the
Yeah.
guideline.
Yes.
Well, we don't have an approved list.
Yeah, not approved list, but to get it approved, let me go here.
But if you use something from USOE or UEN, it's
Yes.
okay, it's safe.
Yes.
And if it's in the curriculum map as part of the
mapping,
curriculum
guide. Yes.
guide, then it's okay.
Mm-hmm.
And some of those even include full movies.
Yes.
The
Because they go
approved
with the
list
book or whatever.
Is our curriculum.
Yeah, so the approved list would we did away with the approved list piece.
Right.
And changed it to
The curriculum
it's got to
guide.
be the approved curriculum that goes through that process with our curriculum development department.
One of the problems with a list is in
It changes.
maintaining it, it changes. And then there are also groups out there that say, oh, we know this was an R-rated movie, but this is our clean version.
Right.
And, those ways around it. Then you have copyright issues and all kinds of things. And so in order for us to feel good about, patron feedback that we got and about making sure we're on top of it, we feel like to provide guidelines is the better way to go than just here's a list of yes and here's a list of no.
And it could be a full-time job to maintain a list of the yeses and, have somebody who actually sat down, watched that, and made sure that it was appropriate to send out a list and say, here's our list. So it could become, quite time-consuming.
Does that answer your question? Everyone?
Yeah, I don't know I don't know, I'll admit ignorance. I don't know what the approved district curriculum guide is. I'm assuming it doesn't include any of the
Give us an
prohibited
example.
So they're
lists.
actually on our website.
Yes.
Okay.
But you do need to have access to the secure page. And on the template for each of the curriculum areas, there's a resource and materials area. And
Okay.
under that, if there's an approved movie, it will list that, and it says how that movie is to be used. There's also some links to clips. So even in our history classes,
Yeah.
there'll be specific clips that you can find through Library of Congress or something like that. So we do provide that information in the document, but those links break.
Yeah.
I think it's a good way of being able to show where you would show that. If we gave a list and said, this could be for a 7th grade English class and there's 15 movies on there, somebody might think they can watch 15 movies.
Right.
So this gives it context within our curriculum.
Yeah, instead of saying yes and no to a movie, we're saying this is an appropriate use of this, because if we just say, here's a list, hey, it's on the list, I could show it, and it might be bad instruction. It might not be related to a instructional goal or a standard, but it's on the movie approved list, so I showed it.
But there are full-length movies
Yes.
on the curriculum,
Yeah,
the
so
approved curriculum
Crucible
guide.
is one in 11th grade.
Oh, okay.
That they do, the play, The Crucible. August Rush is a contemporary movie, but it's also very highly aligned to Oliver Twist, Dickens, a classic.
Mm.
And so they do a crosswalk and they do comparisons and those types of things. So where we can be specific as we start to make modifications to curriculum, you'll start to see that within there.
Yeah.
So, but
Those
we're very
examples are
careful
helpful.
about full-length movies. There's not a ton of them.
Saving Private Ryan.
Yeah, that's not.
And I think we said 4. There's
I
4
think
in
there are
the
5 or
curriculum?
6.
I think in English language arts there's but I just wanted to share.
Okay.
And Ellen, you can go on there and
Yeah,
see that.
no, you don't need to.
Because I have before.
The templates all the same. This probably may not be one that has one, but if you look, see how there's
yeah.
links under here.
Yeah.
And so it'll be able to show you.
Beautiful.
How do our film classes handle this policy?
Like history of film and such like that?
Well, once this policy is passed, then that's going to have to be addressed because they do have they do have a list in their disclosure statement of movies that they show or that could be shown throughout the year, and so that's going to be something that has to be addressed if this policy is approved.
So they'd have to meet those guidelines.
Yes, they would have to meet the guidelines, and so
Would we just amend this policy?
that way, we would have built into the curriculum and tied to standards there for them what the movies that they could show.
But really, theirs should tie into their curriculum anyway.
Anyway,
So they
yes.
would need to just,
Submit the guide with
Yes.
this template
Yes.
to ensure that their alignment is there.
so it's not as if they have to scrap their class and start over. They just
No.
have to
They would have
modify
to.
a little bit.
They would have to show that it aligns with.
Who
with
actually
what they're doing.
approves them?
The curriculum?
No, they got the curriculum from the state, but if they're gonna show a movie, who do they have to get permission from to show that it's on the list or it's okay to use it?
If
It
it's,
would still be the curriculum department. So if it's an English, just like a novel, if an English language arts teacher wants to show something that's not on it, they would have to reach out to the director in that curriculum area. And then I would tell you that with me, I would be checking with having a conversation with the principal, finding out why they want to put that, where do they find the time to put that in, and to what standards are they aligning it to.
Well, I just wanted to know how you were gonna monitor it.
Yeah, it would be based on the principal monitoring their lesson plans and being in
That's my question. We can make the rule, but if nobody monitors it, we've wasted a lot of time.
Well, the good news is this policy came about because something happened and clearly,
Someone
you
voiced
know,
concern.
yeah, so it's,
Usually it's parents that voice concern when the kids go home and tell what they saw.
yeah. Any other questions? Anyone want to make a motion?
Are we
Approving,
approving?
or whatever you want to make a motion for, I guess.
I move that we approve revised policy 5040 multimedia content for implementation. How's that?
Great. Is there a second?
I'll second.
It's been moved by Carol and seconded by Scott to approve revisions to policy 5040 multimedia content for implementation. Discussion to that motion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thanks, and don't get comfortable, because I think you're back for
Yes.
like the 45th
I know,
reading of the
Yes.
attendance and citizenship grading policy.
All right, and for the attendance and citizenship grading for high school students policy, what I did was I took the two policies that we had last month, combined them in, took the language that was relevant from the attendance one and moved it over to the citizenship one. So anything that is underlined, we've got coming over from the attendance, other than we had some language towards the end in J2C, talking about participating in graduation ceremonies instead of the language of receiving a diploma. All U grades must be made up by the last day of school for seniors of the student's graduation year in order to participate in graduation ceremonies. So that language was changed from wouldn't receive a diploma to participating in the graduation ceremony.
Anybody have any comments, questions about the now combined policy?
I'll just give you a motion.
If you want to, that would
I'd
be great.
motion that we approve the
Yeah.
proposed policy for citizenship grade. Has it got a number? No.
Nope.
The proposed policy for attendance and citizenship grading for high school students.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second it.
It's been moved by Scott and seconded by Kathy to approve the proposed new policy, attendance and citizenship grading. Any discussion to that motion?
Yes, Madam Chair.
Okay, go ahead, Karen.
I see that we have crossed out at the top the general citizenship grade.
Right.
Under philosophy number 1, we've crossed out off a general citizenship grade, but it shows up again in E3 under an overall citizenship grade.
Oh, you're right. So
So
I
we
will
need
get that.
to eliminate
that.
that, right? And then also in F, we just need to also cross out on next to the.
Yes, yep.
Good catch, Karen.
I'll amend my motion to reflect those things she just pointed out.
Okay.
That Karen just pointed out. How's that?
All right, and you still second?
I'll still second it.
Okay.
Ellen had a comment.
Yeah,
Excellent.
I have a.
And Ellen?
So I just want to make sure, that it's written in a way that we're going to be able to understand. So the only thing I want to, this first line in G1, if a student exceeds a combination of 5 tardies or 3 unexcused absences. So I read that, I'm not sure what it is that's gonna trigger a UA? Is it
So-
one or the other?
One or the other, so we need to get rid of combination. So if a
Yeah, I
student
think we need
exceeds
to strike combination, if that's
a
the,
combination of, so if a student exceeds 5 tardies or 3 unexcused absences.
yeah,
Or
and
if
and
the
so is
student
it
exceeds
6?
either.
Yes.
You know, is it gonna be,
Well, it exceeds 5, so.
so it has to be 6, and it has to be 4 unexcused absences? Is that,
So yeah, so to be consistent with what we do right now, 5 would trigger and 3 would trigger. So do we want it to be reaches 5 or 3 or exceeds?
4 and 2.
yeah, I think you could just say
So
or
exceeds.
more, but if we just leave it at exceeds, it's gonna be 6 or 4.
Okay. Or do we want to change those to 4 or 2? Good catch on that.
Say
Let's
the
make
student
it-
reaches 5 tardies or 3.
I mean, reaches makes it sound like this is something we're striving
Okay,
toward.
good point. I agree.
I mean, just like has
Just change,
or,
just change exceeds, well, leave the exceeds, but just change it to 4 and 2.
4 and 2. Okay.
It gets the same outcomes.
yeah, that's fine with me. The only other thing I wanted to ask about, it says parents are expected to excuse absences within 1 week. I mean, is that a toothless?
It's only been
Standard.
3 days before, so 1 week is good or something. It
Well,
was like
and
a
that's what I
short
mean
time
though. So if a
before.
parent calls 2 weeks later, are we basically declining to enforce this statement?
I've been told before,
I've
you
been
called
told-
too late,
yeah,
sorry,
yeah,
your
I've-
kid's unexcused.
Yeah, I've been told that before,
You don't
so.
accept it if they don't follow the rules.
Well, that's fine. I just think saying parents are expected means like, we're hoping you'll do this, but, you know, there's no real
Is there a
enforcement
must?
mechanism to
I-
it,
is-
yeah.
instead of
Parents are
expected,
required, or
required.
parents must excuse that. I mean, I'm fine if we're not making it mandatory, but to me that,
It sounds like
It
it's been
sounds
read as
toothless.
mandatory for, in some cases. so.
Yeah,
Is
and
it
it seems like
mandatory
we're-
or is it not?
yeah, are we leaving it up to schools to decide whether
I
they're
think we
gonna
should
allow
decide.
parents?
Well, at more than one school.
So let's decide.
So let's decide, do we want?
They do interpret it differently.
So what do you
Okay.
want to do?
So, yeah, what do you?
I'm not here to say what I want to do. I
Oh,
just
you
want
are.
to point out.
Brought it
the-
up.
I appreciate knowing. I
Um,
mean,
I mean, I'd prefer, well, as a parent, I'd rather have maybe 2 weeks. What?
You'll forget.
You'll forget
you
it
for-
if
too
you have
long.
time to get absent because they were sick.
Well, I mean,
2
if I'm
weeks, you'll
if I'm on
forget to call.
vacation for, you know,
Then you're
10
gonna get
days.
kicked out of school, cause after
Yeah,
10
that's
days,
an
you're
issue.
kicked out of school.
Oh, that's serious.
So if you're going on vacation for 2 weeks, you should call in advance.
Okay, then let's say parents must excuse absences within 1 week of the
are
absence.
required.
Or are required, I don't care either way.
Okay.
Unexcused?
Please.
On G1, it says that students will not be able to try out if they have a U on their transcript. That is contrary to UHSAA policy. UHSAA allows a student to try out, and they can actually make a team, but they cannot participate in a game or
Until it's been
It's
corrected or
interesting
clipped.
because I know of a team who didn't allow people to try out who had used. Yes.
I'm comfortable with the tryout part.
Me too.
Yeah, and we can certainly make our rules
More strict.
I just wanted to point that out.
Okay, no, that's helpful.
And we're changing from, we're giving them 10 days before they're ineligible. That's a change, isn't it? Haven't they been ineligible immediately when report cards come out?
Utah High School Activity Association, the student becomes ineligible on the day that report cards are handed out. So whatever date that is, they get them.
So this policy says they have 10 days before they're ineligible.
Well, and actually what we said was, the eligibility on UHSAA is based on grades. The U is our ineligibility. And we establish that they're ineligible because I would need to double check that, but UHSAA does not. That's correct. Yeah, so it's by grade, so we can determine ineligibility based on the U and give them the 10 days without flying in the face of UHSAA.
But just to follow up on Mark's point about the tryouts, was I understand that correctly, that UHSAA policy says that even a U citizenship grade, I understand that we can be stricter, but it puts our,
I think it goes back to what Hal just said. I think that UHSAA is more concerned with grades.
Academic.
Yes.
academic
Academic
grades than
grades.
citizenship grades.
And,
Okay.
and so anything above and beyond what UHSAA has defined or eligibility-wise, which is just academic, is left up to the district to determine.
Well, and I understand that. I mean, my general feeling is it's hard to impose additional requirements beyond what the UHSAA requires, because then we have parents and students who are saying, why are you punishing us in this district when if we were in a different district, we wouldn't have to do this. I think there's something to be careful about there, so.
Well, and we have historically done that with U's.
Right.
Alan, I might suggest that opens a whole nother can of worms that, let's try to put this
It's
one to
time for a
bed.
third reading, I think, isn't it?
Third.
33rd?
Third of this version. 17th of any version.
With, so I would be willing to amend the motion that Alan suggested.
I gotta write this down, I'm
Like-
pretty sure.
No, just a couple points that Alan suggested, which were G1, if a student exceeds a combination of 4 tardies or 2
But striking combination. Yeah.
exceeds 4 tardies or 2 unexcused absences.
Yeah.
And Alan, what was the other? That was it.
Unless we wanna take
Parents
out
are
all the-
required
And
or
parents-
parent in
H1.
H1.
H1. A parent must excuse absences.
How about will?
Are required. It's actually the last sentence of that. It's parents are required to
Parents are
excuse
required.
absences within 1 week of the absence. It's the last sentence.
Yeah.
So just take out the may. Parents excuse absences on that first line, just take the may out. That just tells them how to do it.
Yeah.
It's the last sentence that has the teeth.
I guess one other just question I have is, in G1, if you want to take out the participate, play, try out, or perform, do we want to exclude try out, let them try out? No.
Well,
Okay.
let's let them try out, and they gotta meet the requirements to play.
Look at that can of worms you opened, Mr.
That-
I'm just saying, I mean.
That's our current policy on tryouts, and I would suggest we don't change that.
Is
I mean,
our current is including tryouts? I think it is, cause I've had kids not be able to try out. I know there are kids that haven't tried out.
But
Can
but I
someone
don't
tell
know.
us definitively, like, how can you tell us, has that been our policy?
Well, we have allowed generally, for if students have a U, they have been able to try out, just not participate until
That's
that
what
U is cleared.
That's what I was thinking.
And,
I think.
and eligibility is determined by that first part of the quarter, and so,
It's not one team, but
There's
I know about the
tryout,
others.
then there's practice,
yes.
and then there's game participation. So you have to
Right.
be, because
So,
if you can let them try out, are you gonna let them practice? And then just not the game? There's three. three
Yeah,
levels.
and I understand,
Yeah.
I mean, I think the game is the obvious one.
yeah,
But what I'm trying to figure out is, have we had a uniform
yes.
district-wide
Sounds like
approach
some schools are.
that applies to both tryout and practice?
So, yes, we've allowed, as a district, we have said that we would allow athletes to try out.
But not practice?
Practice, but
And
not,
practice.
but not participate in competition. But it is left up to individual coaches if they want to be more strict than that.
Yeah.
So, for example, we've had coaches who have said they want to be more strict than our academic requirements, saying that, to be on our
Right.
squad, you need
Has to be a 3.0 or
3.0.
something, right?
And we've allowed those kind of things if they want to be more strict, but we have not allowed them to be more lenient than our policy.
They have to be really careful with that their strictness is not interpreted as discriminatory practice.
Yep.
It's not a It's not a sound practice.
Well, I guess I don't want to. We were moving along so smoothly here, but
Thanks, Alan.
I don't want to create, a huge discord. But I guess I would be inclined to limit the restriction to participation in the game or the performance and allow tryout and practice.
I think that, I mean, I want kids to come to school, and some kids come to school because they
Yeah.
can play sports. But on the other hand, you also want, I mean, if somebody's going to try out and take the spot of somebody who did meet the requirements already, and that person doesn't make the team, and then this kid makes the team and actually never plays, I mean, you also got to consider that.
And at the point they
I don't know.
haven't bothered to, I mean, if they know the rules going in and they couldn't take care of it prior, it does question that they will remain eligible after. And I think that's more of my concern is that they're taking that spot. Some teams it doesn't matter that there's this open.
There's endless spots,
Yeah, football rarely do they. I mean, but if it's a basketball team and they're taking that they're going to cut kids, and you're cutting a kid, and then that kid never for someone who's will get eligible but never does.
Now,
That's my concern.
I do.
I'm torn.
Well, and I do see the value to that. The thing that's appealing to me about not putting it in the policy is that we still give coaches the leeway to deal with it on a case-by-case situation. And maybe we shouldn't trust coaches to deal with it in the right way. But, taking it off the table entirely, I just think there's so many different circumstances that might result. 3 unexcused absences is...
Not very many.
It's not very many. It's not.
And to shed a little light on the situation,
You're next, Julie.
if a student has an F, UHSAA rules do allow for that student to try out for the team and practice with the team, but not compete with the team. So,
Julia.
So I think it's not allowing, I see both sides of this.
Yeah.
But not allowing them to try out because of the U is a lot more punitive than if they get a U and they can fix it while they're on the team, because they may miss one game, whereas you're taking away a whole season. And it depends on whether the U, I mean, maybe they just got the U and they're trying to get rid of it because or if they're habitual. I mean, there's a lot of different situations, but I think that it does make it kind of fair in
Doesn't
some
acknowledge
point.
growth and improvement, which is what we're about,
So
I understand the fairness argument. But
Okay, so I'll amend it to take off. Cross out, try out.
should I? So
Where is
that's a little loud. Should I change it to let's see, a U on their transcript and be eligible to compete or perform?
That's
Should I
fine.
change it to
comfortable
that?
with that.
Okay.
Okay.
That's a hard one.
I think you need about,
Thank you for your flexibility,
4 or 5
Board Member
more
Brian,
readings.
on this motion.
I think we need to bring Hal back.
I'm still trying to get
the
this so
whole
we don't have to
year.
ever come back again. I want poor Hal to be done with this. It's my gift to Hal.
I'm trying to take advantage of your willingness to do anything to get this passed.
I do feel bad for you. This has been a tough one.
Okay,
No,
let's
but
call the question.
if it's
Let's
worth
see.
doing, it's worth doing right.
Yeah.
So
True. Okay,
I
so
have one more question.
okay, go ahead.
So this policy addresses ands, Us, and UAs. What other citizenship grades do we have, and should they be mentioned in the policy?
yes, so
They're
we
good
have
ones.
H's and S's. I can add those in.
You're guaranteed playing time if you have an H.
H or an S.
You will start.
You will
Do you want me to-
start
do you
on
want
the
me to add
team
some
if you have an H.
You can skip tryouts too, right?
Now we're just getting loopy.
No, let's be done.
Okay.
Could you just mention them, Hal, that just
Yes.
under a definition, kind of that H stands for honors and S for satisfactory?
Yeah, so maybe under philosophy, earn a citizenship grade in each class per term. Those citizenship grades would be H for honors, S for satisfactory, and list
Do we
them.
have some consistent idea of what honors is so that it's not arbitrary?
No, we do not.
A teacher can.
No, we do not.
Have we,
Absolutely, we do
Do
not.
not go there.
but,
That's a bigger can of worms than Alan opened.
What was the can of worms?
Defining H.
Should we define what honors
Oh.
is so that
Yeah.
we have a consistent definition?
I've always thought everybody should start out at an H, but I don't think anybody does. Everybody starts
Yeah,
at an
as
S.
an S.
Okay, I'll make those,
Okay.
not the H and S, but we'll add those H's as,
definitions.
yes.
Okay. All right. Okay. I think Kathy seconded, right?
Yes.
Do you still second?
I'll still second it. I'm not really sure what I'm seconding.
This is what you're seconding.
We've had so
I think
many
I'm
Here
gonna
we go.
try.
Listen up, here we go.
I think I missed Karen's, but I have most of them. Okay, it's been moved by Scott and seconded by Kathy to, I don't know what even policy this is.
It's not, it's a new policy.
To approve new policy, attendance and citizenship grading with changes. In section G1, we're going to strike combination, change the numbers to 4 and 2. The end of the sentence will be compete or perform, striking the participate, play, and try out. In H1, we are going to take out the may, and in the last sentence, parents are required. In A1, we are going to add a definition, just say that what the citizenship grades are: H for honors, S for satisfactory, N for needs improvement, U and UA. And then Karen's suggestions. No, Karen had the ones to strike on
E3.
in E3.
Yeah.
Is that what it
Actually,
was?
on and F,
Citizenship grade.
and then E3, the whole thing.
Overall.
The whole.
And then E3, strike E3. And I don't know where the on was.
It was
In
in
F.
F.
Okay, in F. Right before 10.
Yep.
I think I got them all. Is that what you got?
Well done, Madam Chair.
That's what I was motioning.
Okay, that's what you're motioning?
Just
Are
what
you
you
sure?
said.
It
Are
wouldn't
you
have mattered
sure?
what
We're
Marisa
good?
said, yeah.
That's exactly what I said.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. We're done.
Beautiful.
That is awesome.
Go celebrate, Hal. Go
I
do
motion
something
we
fun.
adjourn.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. That's fine,
Oh, I
Ellen.
told you it had to be perfect,
Thank
didn't I?
you.
When you said here one day.
Thanks for coming, everybody. It's early. Is Veronica living in Overlake? No.
Told him his policy had to be
Yes,
perfect.
she is.
And he thought I was joking.
Jennifer,